Human SDRs versus AI SDRs. Which one actually works better in 2025? So if you're running a B2B business, you know that sales development is critical. You can have the best product in the world, but without leads coming in, you literally have nothing to sell and no clients to fulfill. Now, for years, the standard approach has been hiring sales development reps, also known as SDRs, who are basically people who focus on outreach, prospecting, and qualifying leads to create business opportunities. Now, 2025 has brought us a new option, and that is the AI SDR. So today, we're going to settle this once and for all, human SDRs versus AI SDRs. We're going to compare them head to head on cost, speed, consistency, scalability, and results so you can decide what makes sense for your business. Now, before we dive in, if you don't know who I am, my name is Alex. I'm the founder of Sparkly, the B2B lead generation agency. I've sent over 5 billion cold emails, booked over 2,000 sales calls, generated multiple seven figures in closed deals for my clients. This is one of our clients, Baton. They signed 16 new clients and added 150,000 in closed revenue within 30 days as a result of our services. And then Jordan White from Carbon Box Media signed 5 new clients and added 30,000 in new monthly recurring revenue within 3 months. So without further ado, let's dive in. So first of all, what is a human SDR? If you don't know already, an SDR is a sales development representative, and this is someone whose job is finding potential customers and getting them interested enough to take a meeting. Okay, their daily work includes finding potential customers, cold emailing them or cold calling them, following up with prospects, booking meetings or demos, and essentially what they do is that they work at the top of the sales funnel, and their job is to generate interest and set appointments, not to close deals. Okay, it's not an easy job. There's constant rejection. There's a lot of repetitive tasks. There's daily targets for calls and emails. And most SDRs usually burn out or quit within 6 months or 12 months maximum. Okay, the turnover for this type of role is brutal. Now, I'm sure most of you watching this video already knew what an SDR is, but what is an AI SDR? An AI SDR is basically all of the above, everything that I've already mentioned, but automated. So instead of paying someone to manually research and email prospects, you have software and AI tools doing it at scale. It's like having multiple SDRs working 24/7, except they never get tired, they never call in sick, they never ask for a raise. Okay, you give the system your prospect list, your email templates, your follow-up rules, your principles, and then it just goes to work. Okay, it can hit thousands of prospects per day across email, LinkedIn, or whatever channels you want. So it's basically like having your best human SDR cloned multiple times, working around the clock. So now that you know what a human SDR and an AI SDR is, let's go into the first comparison on cost. So a human SDR is typically going to cost you 50 to 100K per year when you factor in salary, commissions, benefits, equipment, and office space if it's physically in person. And that's just for one person. If you need a whole team, you need to multiply that cost by however many people you want to hire. Okay, and this is not considering the hidden costs. The hidden costs are recruiting, interviewing, training, and the lovely but common surprise of them quitting within 6 months. And then when that happens, all that investment essentially goes down the drain, and then you need to hire a replacement and start over, which is going to cost you more time and more money. Now, the cost of an AI SDR essentially is around 1 to 2K per month, and the premium ones might go up to 5K a month. No benefits though, no commission, no sudden resignations, just a predictable monthly cost. There's no hiring process, and there's also no training period where you're essentially paying someone who is not yet productive. So the math here is quite simple. Even the most expensive AI SDR usually costs less than one human SDR's salary, taking into account all factors. The next factor is speed and productivity. So a good human SDR might make a few hundred calls a day and send 50 to 100 emails, but that's their ceiling because they're limited by the number of hours that they work. And if a prospect replies to an email or calls back, a human SDR might take a few hours or longer to respond if it's outside working hours, because generally humans can only handle so many conversations or tasks at once. So there always is a cap on their output. Okay, typically an SDR would work 8 hours a day. In those 8 hours, there's breaks. They're going to have lunch. They're going to have a snack. They're going to go to the bathroom, and they're going to go home at 5 p.m. Now, on the other hand, if you have an AI SDR, you can contact thousands or even hundreds of thousands of prospects per day or per week. And unlike humans, they work at night, they work 24/7, they work on weekends, they work on holidays. Whenever your prospects might be checking their email or their phone, your AI SDR is working. And in terms of pure output, one AI SDR can easily do the work of 5 to 10 human SDRs working simultaneously. Now, when it comes to consistency, even your best SDRs are going to have good days and bad days just because they're human. Their performance is directly affected by their mood, their energy levels, and their personal life. And the other thing is that humans also make mistakes because it's in our nature. They might make typos in the emails, they might forget to follow up with a lead or two. So you might have leads that are falling through the cracks, and they might also go off script. And every new hire is a roll of the dice. Are they going to be good? Or are they going to burn out within 3 to 6 months? So the issue here is that you need to consider variables like, are they going to show up to work every single day? Could they call in sick or request time off during an important period? Is each SDR following the process that you gave them? And are they representing your brand properly when they're talking to prospects? Or are they just damaging your brand's reputation? And the thing is that every new SDR you add to the team is going to introduce more uncertainty and more management overhead. Now, when it comes to AI SDRs and consistency, an AI SDR is ultra consistent by design. It's going to execute exactly what you program it to do every single day. It's never going to get tired, it's never going to get bored, and it's never going to deviate from the script. It's going to be the same message quality, the same follow-up timing, and the same volume every single day, every single week, every single month. If you set it to send 500 emails a day, it's going to send exactly 500, not 499, not 501. And it is extremely important because it makes your tracking and your monitoring extremely precise. So if you program a follow-up sequence, every single prospect is going to get every single touch point. There's not going to be any sick days, no personal drama, no personal life, and you're never going to get the typical, I'm not feeling motivated today. The only caveat, though, with an AI SDR when it comes to consistency is that if there's an error in your strategy, so if there's an error in the programming of the AI SDR, then it will consistently repeat that error too. Now, obviously, that is a human error when it comes to the programming of the AI SDR. But the issue is that the AI SDR is going to consistently make that error in the strategy. So you just need to make sure that you monitor everything properly so you can quickly catch and fix any issues that might arise. The next factor is scalability. So to scale up a human SDR team, you just need to hire more SDRs. One person can only handle so many leads because, once again, they're limited by the number of hours that they're working. So if you want to 2x your outreach, you need to 2x your headcount because it's very unlikely that you're going to convince one SDR to work twice as many hours. So hiring SDRs comes with all the costs and the challenges that we discussed previously with all the salary, training, and management. And the thing is that it's not linear. Okay, each new hire is going to add more complexity because with a larger SDR team, so if you have 10 SDRs, you also need a manager to then oversee the SDR team. You need more tool licenses, more training sessions, and a bunch of other costs that only come to the surface when you're building an entire team. And also, the more people involved, the harder it can be to make sure that everyone is consistent, everyone is following the script, and that everyone is on brand. Now, the good thing with an AI SDR is that all you need to do to scale is adjust a few settings. So with a click of a button, you can reach out to 20,000 prospects instead of 10,000 prospects a month. Or if you want to expand into 3 new markets simultaneously, and you want to break down 20,000 prospects into 3 different industries, sending around 7,000 per campaign, you can do that very easily with a few clicks of a button. So it's like having the ability to instantly clone your entire SDR team whenever you need more capacity, but also vice versa. So if you want to scale down, then with a few clicks of a button, you can decrease the volume of outreach. And the good thing here is that scaling an AI SDR does not proportionately increase your management burden, because sending 10,000 emails is not 10 times harder than sending 1,000 emails for an AI SDR. But on the other hand, having 10 human SDRs as opposed to 1 human SDR is quite literally 10 times the management and training. Now, when it comes to training and onboarding, hiring a new SDR is not something where you just flip a switch and they're productive. You're not just going to hire someone and then from the first day or from the first week, they're going to be super productive. You need to first spend a lot of time recruiting and interviewing candidates, which is a job in and of itself. And then when you do hire someone, you need to make sure that they learn everything before they actually start reaching out to prospects. They need to know everything about your company, your product or your service, your market, and also your entire sales process. So even the most talented SDR still needs a few months of training before they're actually effective and before they fit in nicely with your sales process. So usually it takes around 3 to 6 months before a new SDR really reaches their full productivity within your company. So during that time, though, they might not be booking meetings, but you still need to pay them, even if they're in the learning phase. So if that SDR decides to leave after 6 months, which happens very often, then the whole cycle starts again with a new hire. So there's this massive time investment that goes into hiring new SDRs before you start seeing any consistent results from the human SDR. Now, if you were to implement an AI SDR system, then it could take around 14 to 21 days to get the system running. Once the system is configured with your targeting and your messaging, it essentially starts performing immediately. There's no months-long learning curve like you'd have with a human. The training that you give an AI SDR is just basically the programming with the right parameters up front. And then after that, it executes consistently from day one. And that's why it's very important to program it correctly and to feed it the right information, because if you don't, then that just means that it's going to consistently put out the wrong message. So overall, if we're talking time to values or how long it takes for you to actually get value from this investment, the AI SDR is going to start generating leads much, much faster than any new hire would. And that's purely because you're going to completely skip the long onboarding and the skill ramp up that comes with hiring a human SDR. Another big factor that comes into play with human SDR teams is the management and oversight. So when you have human SDRs, especially more than one, so if you have an entire team, then obviously someone needs to manage that team. You're monitoring performance metrics like emails sent, calls made, meetings booked. You also need regular check-ins, coaching sessions, training, and then that constant motivation to keep them on track. So you need to make sure your incentives are aligned. And then with a team, you might also need a dedicated sales manager just to handle training, pipeline reviews, and to jump in if someone is underperforming. And on top of all that, there's also the micromanaging details. So someone needs to listen to the call recordings, you need to review the email copy that they write, you need to correct them when they go off brand. And all of this is going to eat up a lot of time from the business owner or from the person that's managing the entire team. So all in all, managing a human SDR team is definitely a full-time job in and of its own. Now, an AI SDR mostly manages itself once you get it set up properly. You still need some oversight to monitor the campaign results, but it's just more about checking the metrics, tweaking the strategy, and not so much a daily hands-on management, okay? You're not going to need to motivate an AI or train it or remind it to follow up leads because it's just going to do those tasks automatically. So what you can do, though, is you can assign a human to oversee the AI SDR, but that one person can usually manage what would normally take a whole team's worth of output. So the micromanagement on a daily basis is far less than with human SDRs because you're not dealing with human issues. You're just making sure that tech is running smoothly and that the leads keep on flowing. Now, the final factor is personal touch and adaptability. This is where things get interesting because this is where human SDRs traditionally might work better than an AI SDR. When a human picks up the phone and they hear the prospect's tone, they can obviously adjust their entire pitch in real time. They can make jokes, they can share a personal story, or they can connect with the prospect over common ground. And these are just things that AI can't do that well, at least not yet at the time of recording this video. So when a prospect raises an objection or if they have a complex question, a well-trained human SDR can have an actual conversation with the prospect and solve that objection. They can address concerns, they can persuade the prospect to make a certain decision, and they can also reassure the prospect based on what they're hearing in real time. Another thing that humans do much better than AI is understand subtle context and conversational nuances. So they might decide not to push a particular lead this week because of some bad news they saw about their company online. And all this just falls under the unique adaptability and the emotional intelligence that humans bring to the table. And this is where they stand out compared to an AI system. Now, while AI SDRs are not empathetic and they don't have the same emotional intelligence as humans, we do have tools like Clay that are really good at personalization. So there are tools out there that can pull in company news, LinkedIn activity, job hirings, industry details to make communication and emails feel like they've been custom written. And this can happen automatically for thousands of prospects at scale with minimal effort. So in this case, the AI SDR would focus on the initial outreach to break the ice and to qualify the prospect. And then if a prospect gets serious and is genuinely interested in having a conversation, that's where the human sales team would take over. So this way you can get the best of both worlds. You can use AI for all the repetitive outreach at scale, and then you can use the humans for the relationship building aspect of it and for closing deals. Now, one thing that I've noticed after sending over 5 billion cold emails is that AI's limitations are very minor when it comes to lead generation because most prospects at the outreach stage and when you're trying to break the ice with a prospect, all they want to know is how your solution can help them. They're not really looking for a deep human relationship yet. So when a prospect does start looking for that deep relationship, that's when the human sales team is going to take over. And that way, once again, you get the best of both worlds because you have the AI doing all the repetitive outreach to start that initial conversation. And then you have the human sales reps who are much better than AI at closing deals. Now, all these factors that we've mentioned so far are definitely important, but at the end of the day, what really matters is tangible results. So how many leads, how many meetings, and ultimately how many clients can each strategy generate? And what is your expected return on investment? So with human SDRs, let's just say a good human can book you 5 to 8 meetings a month on average. And the quality of those meetings is usually going to be pretty solid because they can personally qualify prospects. The only issue, as mentioned previously, is that humans are inconsistent. So one month, they can knock it out of the park and generate 10 leads, and the next month, they might suck and only generate 2 leads. So the results can be all over the place purely because there are so many variables that come into play when we're talking about humans. So to improve results, you usually need to hire more SDRs or just hope that your current SDR works twice as many hours, which is unrealistic in 90% of the time. So the big issue here is that your cost per meeting is probably going to be high. So if an SDR books 5 meetings a month and costs you $5,000 a month in salary plus all the hidden costs, then that's $1,000 per meeting, which in most cases, for most businesses, is quite high, unless you're selling very high ticket services, which in that case, it could make sense. But with an AI SDR, if you set up the system properly, then you can very easily match or beat human performance and human metrics. And this is because they reach way more prospects, so they book more total meetings in the same period. And since your costs are lower, your cost per meeting is also going to drop dramatically. So the same 5 to 10 meetings that a human can book you, but at $2,000 a month total cost instead of $5,000 total cost. So overall, one AI SDR system can easily produce the same pipeline and the same number of meetings as a whole human team, but more efficiently, more reliably, and also cheaper. So if you measure by meetings booked or deals closed per dollar spent on the campaigns, then the AI SDR is going to win in most cases. So in conclusion, which one should you choose based on your current situation? Well, if we weigh everything up, then the AI SDRs are a clear winner in most categories when it comes to cost, speed, scalability, consistency, and efficiency. The human SDRs have a small edge when it comes to personalization and understanding conversational nuance. So this is my suggestion after working with over 50 B2B companies. Using a combination of both AI SDRs but also human sales reps is usually going to yield the best possible results. Because if you use your AI SDRs to handle the initial outreach and the lead generation at scale, and then have your humans focus on the discovery calls and closing deals, that way you make the best of both worlds, because you still need humans somewhere in the sales process. But for prospecting and for setting meetings specifically, the AI SDRs come on top for what most B2B businesses are looking to achieve. So if you are tired of spending big money on SDR salaries and management fees and all those other hidden costs, then an AI SDR could be a good fit for you because it allows you to build a scalable outbound lead generation system without the headaches of hiring, training, and managing people for that role. The one important note here that's worth mentioning is that the AI system is only going to be as good as the strategy and the data that you give it. So when you feed it the right information, that's when it can consistently produce business opportunities for you. So that's that for this video. I hope you now can make an informed decision as to whether you think a human SDR or an AI SDR would be a better fit for your business. If you run a B2B company and you want us to come in, install our AI SDR system for you and help you get an extra 1 to 3 new clients every month without you having to do any of the work yourself, then just click on the first link in the description to book a call with me. And if you run a B2B company or a cold email agency, but you don't want us to actually build the system for you, and you just want me to personally mentor you and show you how to set it up for yourself, then just click on the second link in the description, fill in the application form, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave any comments below with any questions you might have, and I'll see you in the next one.